Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing my June wrap-up. A few days late now, but it's whatever. I ended up getting some more stuff that came in the mail the day that I recorded this originally. So I had to scrap that. Whoops. But I think now I finally found some time to make the video. Also, I haven't had a whole lot of quiet time. Started work up again, so it is what it is. So yeah, we're doing what I've been reading, what I hope to read this month in July, the book haul, and also some channel updates and stuff. So I won't drag this intro out too long. I hope you guys all enjoy the video. If you do, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I would greatly appreciate it. And links to everything's in the description. If you guys want to check out my Amazon wish list for books, I also started doing that. Just putting it out there, you know. If there's anything y'all see, you want to be kind to donate to the boys, you know, definitely go ahead and do that. And then the Discord is also down there, so join, have some fun, talk books, games, manga, whatever. Does not matter. It's all in the description. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the main thing that I was reading in the month of June is obviously Oathbringer. I'm trying to get through the Stormlight Archive during the summer. Well, Oathbringer specifically during the summer, so I can start Rhythm of War and hopefully have that finished by the time Wind and Truth comes out. But I don't know that I really see that happening. Just because I'll make a video about it, like a TBR kind of video, but not the kind that you would be expecting, because I think I'm just trying to, at this point, be a little bit more loose with what I'm reading and not be so strict with like a TBR. Just kind of read what I want to read for the month, and, you know, it's not a race. You know, I don't have to like rush to finish something just because. You know, who am I racing? And who's gonna make me read whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I'm just at the point now where it's like, I'm just gonna read what I want to read, and if you guys want to watch it, that's cool, and I'll talk and watch and hear what I have to say. Anyways, besides the point, went on a little tangent there. Oathbringer, hopefully you're gonna finish this, but right now I am taking a break from Oathbringer to read some other things. I did, however, get like about halfway through it. I made it to part 3, so I'm right here, and then I stopped. I'm liking it so far. I think the beginning, everything up to the point now that I've read, has been pretty good. I like where the plot is going. I just don't think that this book needs to be nearly as long as it is. I think that's a bit superfluous. Yeah, it does not need to be that long whatsoever. As like, I like what's happening, but I do feel like it's dragging a little bit. Like Way of Kings was slow, but it was a slow burn, and I felt like almost everything in Way of Kings was needed to be there. With Words of Radiance, it was, again, it still felt like a slow burn, but it was also, I feel like for a Stormlight book, it's well paced, despite it being a slow burn still and being a really long book. It was still pretty well paced. This, I think, definitely has some pacing issues. So I like what's happening. It's just not paced the best, and I do still feel like it's dragging. You know, it's a slow burn, but I feel like there's a difference between it being boring and a slow burn, and this is leaning a little bit too much to the side of it being boring. So I hate to say it, but at the moment where I'm at now, I'll probably give it a 4 stars. If it keeps up like that, it might be like a 4-star read and possibly the worst one yet. But I've heard the Sander Lanch in Oathbringer is amazing. So we'll see, you know, when I get into the second half of the book, if it changes and picks up. But right now I'm sitting at like a four-star read for Oathbringer at about halfway through. It's like 45%, I believe. So that's where I'm at with Oathbringer. And then I take a break. I'm taking a break to read something else. I did pick up The Lesser Devil by Christopher Rocchio. This is the novella that takes place during Empire of Silence, during the time when Hadrian is in the fugue at the beginning of the book. So it takes place within that little time skip. But it's from the point of view of Crispin. I'm not going to talk about this too much because also I did want to do a separate video on this, but I am nearing the end of it. I'm on page 120, and there's like a bunch of backstory, like family, explaining family relations and stuff like that in the back. But as far as actual story, there's like 170 pages. So I only have like 50 pages left of this, and I'm hoping to finish this in the next couple of days. It's really short, but I've just been taking my time reading it, having fun with it, and so far I'm really enjoying this novella. It's different from Empire of Silence. It's a third-person point of view book, so it's not exactly the same. It doesn't have as eloquent prose as the first book because you're not dealing with Hadrian and his melodramatic ways of explaining things and it being more drawn out, which I do like. It gives Rocchio a chance to really flex his prose. But this isn't, nearly as melodramatic. Well, I still think that the prose is still pretty good. And as far as what's actually happening and the characters and stuff, I'm just having a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of themes that I think are really interesting in this book, which I'll go deeper into when I do a separate review on that. Yeah, I'm nearing the end of that, and then I'm probably going to hop into some other stuff. Another thing is I was trying to read Oathbringer at the same time as Kayla, and she's quite a bit further behind than me, so I was also giving her a little bit of a chance to catch up as well. So once I finish Lesser Devil, I do plan on reading some other things before I do get back into the second half of Oathbringer. But, I might just get back into Oathbringer whenever I feel like it. But, yeah, I plan to check out some other things for a little bit. And I also just don't want to get burnt out on Sanderson, which I can definitely feel like I might be, because in the last year I've read quite a bit of Sanderson, I feel like. So now I'm going to go ahead and get into the book haul. So far this summer, I've gone crazy with buying books when I definitely should not have, but it's whatever. I'm trying to calm down on it now that I'm finally starting work again. Had my first day of work yesterday, so I'm making some money again and refilling my savings account and all that. Just gonna chill out. It was hard because, when I wasn't in work, because they were kind of screwing with my transfer thing, and it took way longer than it should have. I was bored and therefore spending money that I shouldn't have been, but it's whatever. But yeah, I'm taking it a little bit easier probably during the month of July. That haul is not going to be nearly as large as it is this month. That being said, when I first got here, I did go to BAM. I went to BAM once. We did go to Barnes like twice. I went to Second and Charles, and I did go to the Warhammer Games Workshop store, which I'll talk about also probably in its separate video, but you'll see some cool stuff from that, and then just some stuff I got off of eBay and Amazon as well. So starting us off here, I'm going to go with a couple things that I did get from BAM. So being here, I'm currently staying at my aunt and uncle's house. My uncle has gotten me into some pretty cool stuff, like D&D, Warhammer, and he urged me to check out some of the Star Wars novels as well. And I'm a big fan of the way that they're doing the updated Legends collection So I did want to get some of those in my collection, my library. So the one he definitely urged me to read was the Bane trilogy. So I did pick up the first one of that, Path of Destruction. If you guys don't know, I'm a big fan of Star Wars. Yeah, and I never really bothered to read about it. And this is a character that I'm somewhat unfamiliar with, but I definitely like a lot of the old Star Wars stuff, like, not as far as, like, publication date, but, like, in the Star Wars timeline. I'm a big fan of the idea of, like, the High Republic stuff, as well as, like, the Old Republic, especially. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff out there, so I'm really looking forward to checking out a lot of that old Legends stuff. So I did get book 1 of the Bane trilogy. And then, on a similar note, me getting into like D&D and stuff, I did want to check out R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt, and they're doing these reprints as well. Who is doing it? Random House. They're doing these reprints, and they look really sick, so I'm probably going to pick up a few more of these in the coming months. I finished the Dark Elf trilogy because this is the one that I want to read, and then some of the other stuff. I don't know how far I'm going to go with these because they are expensive. I mean, they're normal paperbacks, but it's also like, what, a 50-book series or something like that? Something crazy, 40 books? I'm not sure, but there's a lot of them. So if you do the math, that's a lot of money. But yeah, it's dope. Big fan of that. I think that looks really cool. Moving on is something that I went ahead and ordered. I've been meaning to get this for a minute to finish off my collection. But I did go ahead and pick up Dregs of Empire by Christopher Rocchio. This is the 3rd novella in the series. That's not including like the short story collections. This is like its own story. Not really sure who these characters are just yet, but I'm looking forward to getting to this point. I believe you're supposed to read this after book 5, so I'm definitely not there yet, but yeah, I'm liking these covers that they're doing though. Although I'm not a fan at all of that cover art, I think that is some of the ugliest character art I've ever seen in my life. Just personally, I hate the way those characters look and the way that they're designed. I do not like that, but what I do like is the style that they're doing these in. Just like these naked hardcovers with the covers printed on. I think that they're really nice. So, if you guys saw, I think it was last month, I hauled the new Queen Amid Ashes edition. So I'm excited to read that, and I'm also excited for them to reprint The Lesser Devil in that style as well, with updated cover art and all that, which I believe is supposed to be happening at the end of the year. Moving on, let's get into a few mass market paperbacks. So getting into it, if you guys don't know, over the last couple of months, my opinions on paperbacks has kind of changed a little bit, which is something probably noticed, especially mass markets, and it was kind of mass market paperbacks that changed my opinion. I don't know why, but just something clicked, and it was like, I don't need to constantly buy hardcovers. It's not like a necessity. You don't, like, the value of your library isn't made upon how many hardcovers you have versus paperbacks. I feel like a good library honestly has a good mix of both. So my phase of hardcover supremacy is kind of dwindling. I am getting a good mixture of them. Don't get me wrong. If I could get hardcover, I want to get hardcover, but there's nothing wrong with a good paperback. And mass markets are, I think, underrated. A whole little tangent there. But that being said, there's a series in particular that in its mass market form is how I'm choosing to collect it, just because I like the way it looks. I've seen this series like on a shelf with all the mass markets, and I just think it looks really cool. And that is Malazan. So I did go ahead and get Gardens of the Moon. This is one of the things that I got when I first came here. I've been wanting to check it out for a while. Probably not going to get to it really soon if I had to guess, but there's a couple people that are kind of urging me to read this. You know, Matt over at Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews. You know, he did the buddy read for this a couple months back, and sadly I missed that because I was reading some other things. But that didn't necessarily put it on my radar. That definitely significantly urged me to read it. And also my boy Darko over at Kindles and Kicks, him doing the Malazan Mondays thing. I might want to get on that train as well at some point. But yeah, Gardens of the Moon, really cool. And then I jumped the gun, and I did also get Dead House Gates in the mass market paperback. So I do have both of those. Moving on, another mass market that I said that I literally said that I wasn't going to get this one, but here I am. I did get the third book in the Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. Yeah, I said that I wasn't going to get this because I did want to get the hardcovers for this series. But it is what it is. I might just end up getting both. It's whatever. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading this series in particular. So when I do go back home at the end of the month, I'll be going back home to Florida for like a week. I plan on bringing all this stuff back home, dropping off this big haul of books, and then switching some of my stuff out. And I feel like I'll probably bring Son of the Black Sword with me, because that's kind of a priority read for me right now. I kind of want to break my TBR and just read that series already, just because it sounds so interesting to me. And yeah, I want to get in on it. I know the second to last book in this series comes out at the end of the year. I'm probably not going to get to it by then, but I do want to start it because that is super cool. But yeah, Destroyer of Worlds. And then at Second and Charles, this is just kind of like a random thing I didn't really need for the collection at all, but I did find an old copy of The Hobbit. I just liked the way it looked. It looked pretty vintage. I mean, everybody knows The Hobbit. I have a couple copies of The Hobbit. Also has a name written on here. What's it say? Galbraith. Shout out to Galbraith. Yeah. The Hobbit. Now, we still have quite a bit to get into here. One thing I did do is I did check Goodwill, actually. I think I forgot to mention that. But I did go to Goodwill because I've seen some people haul some crazy stuff from Goodwill and get it super cheap because they don't know what they have. So I did go. I was just gonna check it out. And I did find one thing. I did find this hardcover of Wheel of Time, Winter's Heart, which I believe is one of the slog books, sadly. But it's still a Wheel of Time hardcover. These are typically 30 to 40 bucks, and I got it for, I believe, $1 or $2. So yeah, it's not a first edition, I don't think. So it's not too crazy, but still, Wheel of Time is a series I want to end up getting to later down the road. And yeah, just a hardcover for like $1 or $2, so you can't beat it. So I did get that. Moving on, also at Second and Charles, I did get this hardcover of The Stand, which is super dope. If you guys saw my last haul in May, the wrap up, I did end up getting The Stand, or not The Stand, It. I believe it was a first edition It, which is crazy, as well as 11/22/63. I tried reading The Dark Tower back when I was like in 8th grade, and I got like, I don't know, probably 10% through The Gunslinger, and I couldn't do it, and I dropped it. I DNF'd it, and I said Stephen King isn't for me. But I think I tapped out a little too early, and also maybe I've also heard The Gunslinger isn't the best, and that, you know, you can probably skip that. Also, I was in 8th grade, so I might come back to Stephen King at some point, but I definitely want to read 11/22/63 and The Stand here, which I've heard is one of the best books ever written. So I got that. I really like this cover. I just think that that's so super cool. And so yeah, as soon as I get home, I'm definitely going to be wrapping this in my library wrap and putting it on the shelf with, 11/22/63 and my copy of it that I have as well. So that was a cool find. Next up, we're going to get into some crazy stuff. Something I wanted to check out that I just kind of saw. I had heard about it. When I was at Barnes & Noble, I saw it, and it just really caught my eye. And I did pick up Shadow and Claw. This is Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun, Part 1. So this is actually the first 2 books in this omnibus. And it's really cool. I've heard that this is one of the most difficult fantasy books to read, just period, ever, because of just the amount of subtext. You have an unreliable narrator, but there's a lot of figurative language being used, and the way it's written. So people who just read it versus people who read it and understand get 2 completely different stories, as far as I can tell, from what I understand about it. So, I am getting to a point where I kind of want to challenge myself a little bit more with some fantasy literature, which is part of the reason why I'm wanting to get into Malazan at some point. But I've heard that this, as far as difficulty, is way more difficult than Malazan, because with Malazan, from what I understand, is it's not super difficult. It has a reputation for being difficult. That's because a lot of people aren't fully paying attention. You have to just pay attention and not zone out, or you'll miss stuff and not make sense. But everything is there. With this, it's yes, everything is there, but you have to decipher it. It's way more complicated. So I could be completely wrong, but that's just the way that I see it and what I understand from what I've heard. So I got this copy. This is the Tor Essentials. And then I also found this at Second & Charles for a couple dollars. This is the second bind up omnibus that has books 3 and 4. The Claw, Sword and Citadel. That's right. And the first one, Shadow and Claw. This is not the Tor Essentials. So it's 2 different copies, but it's whatever. I don't care too much. But yeah, pretty cool. And then also on the Gene Wolfe train, I did get The Knight. This is a hardcover ex-library copy, already wrapped up. And you guys know that I love my ex-library copies and wrapped up books, hardcovers. I don't know much about this at all. The cover was really dope. I did order that one on Amazon. It was how much was it? $15 or something? I did see the sequel, The Wizard, when I was at Second & Charles in hardcover, but I ended up not getting it at the time because I didn't really know what it was, and I hadn't planned on getting The Knight until I saw it for so cheap later on Amazon, and then I got it. So now I wish that I would have gotten that hardcover. Whoops. I might try to go back there at some point in August or something, or later this month, and see if it's still there. We'll see. If not, I'll order it sometime. But yeah, that's something I want to check out. Gene Wolfe is an author that has really interested me lately, and so I want to check out some of his stuff. So yeah, moving on, we got a couple kind of impulse buys. All of these are impulse buys, let's be real, but things that were just completely unnecessary that I paid full price for, sadly, but it's whatever, we're chilling. I did get The Sword Defiant by Gareth Hannaran. This sounds just cool. It's about a cursed sword that's sentient and sort of influences its wielder. yeah, and just reading the back about fighting monsters and stuff with this demon sword. So it sounds cool. The second book also just came out, I believe, like a couple months ago. And this one has been on my radar for just a little bit. So I saw it at Barnes and thought I would pick it up. Who knows when I'll get to it, but it's one of those nice Orbit hardcovers. Or not hardcovers, sorry. Paperbacks. I love what Orbit does. All of their books just feel so high quality. Yeah, love the way it feels. It has like a texture to it that I can't really describe. Yeah, I really like what they do. So I got this, and then I also did get Lycanius, The Shadow of What Was Lost. This is book 1 in the Lycanius trilogy by James Islington. And if you haven't heard of this, the author's name might sound familiar because he is the author of The Will of the Many, which is popping off on BookTube right now. But he did write this trilogy before that, obviously. And yeah, I've heard good things about this too. One of the reasons why I picked it up is because of Sun Eater. One of the things I liked about Sun Eater is how it plays with time. And the series is notorious for how it plays with time as well. It kind of gives me, if you are familiar with the anime or manga Frieren, it sort of reminds me of that in a lot of ways. Just in that aspect of how it plays with time and the characters and all that. Sort of similar. So I really think that concept is fascinating, and that's why I picked it up. So moving on, the last little bit of the haul here is sort of my newest hyperfixation. And I mentioned that I went to the Warhammer store, Games Workshop. It's something that my uncle took me to go do with Kayla, and it was pretty fun. But over the last few weeks, my uncle's been telling me about like Warhammer lore and stuff, like specifically 40K and like the Horus Heresies and stuff. And I got super interested in it, super hyper fixated on it. So this is like my new obsession right now. But yeah, we tried doing like a little trial run of the game and stuff when we went to the store. But the game itself is just a lot. It's very expensive. There's a lot of pieces that you need. So the game itself isn't in the cards for me. However, I have a library, so the books are. And from what I can tell, they're really cool. They're really good. My uncle has read a handful of them himself. I think like 6 or 7 of them. This is another series like Drizzt, where it's also extremely long. Unlike Drizzt, this is written by multiple authors, similar to like how the Star Wars books are. It all takes place within that franchise, but there's different authors writing different stories and plot lines and all that. But it all comes together, and it's a series that recently ended as well. So the Horus Heresy has like 60 books, and then they have the Siege of Terra, which is 8 books, I believe, 8 books. But the Siege of Terra is like the direct sequel, and that's what finishes off the series. And that just ended last year or early this year, I think. Maybe it ended in January. That sounds about right. I have a whole video gonna be talking about Warhammer and stuff. Don't you guys worry. But one of the things that Games Workshop is known for is A, how expensive their stuff is, and B, how a lot of their black libraries, what they call it, will go out of print for long periods, like long stretches of time, and it'll drive up the market value, the secondhand market value of said books that are out of print. Even in their like mass market paperback form, you could be spending thousands of dollars, which is just insane. And considering it's like a 60 book series, if you want to have a complete set, It's ridiculous. So I don't plan on reading 60 books in the series. So what I did pick up is just a few of them. From what I can tell, the first 3 and maybe 4-ish are kind of must-reads. So I did get Horus Rising, which is the first book. False Gods, which is the second book. Galaxy in Flames, which is book 3. And then The Flight of the Eisenstein, which is book 4. And these are some of the most important books in the series. And the way it works is that it jumps around in time and you're following specific characters, and there's backstories to like different armies and legions. You sort of figure out a character that you want to learn more about, and then you go on and read those specific books that they're part of. So it's 60 books long, but it's not really a linear story. So you can just kind of read how many of them you want, and then move on and then read The Siege of Terra. So that's what I did do, is I picked up The Siege of Terra. I picked up books 1, 2, and 3. So there are 8 of those. I will be trying to finish off that set probably by the end of the summer. I want to get all of The Siege of Terra at least while I still can, before those go out of print for a while, and then I'm having to wait. Of course, I can read them all digitally, but I'm not a digital kind of guy. So yeah, that is, I definitely kind of went off the chain with Warhammer this month, or this past month. But yeah, that's what I got going on. I'm picking up some more Warhammer stuff at some point, and you guys will probably see more of it in the next haul. That being said, something that's not exactly a part of the Horus Heresy is a 40k book I picked up. And like I said before, you sort of follow characters that you think are interesting, and you sort of latch on to a specific character. So that's what I did. I wanted to follow a specific character called the Lion. His name's Lionel Johnson. And so I picked up a separate book just about him that takes place during the 40k, which is after Siege of Terra. So yeah, this can sort of be read on its own, a standalone, I guess. Yeah, I just thought it was really cool, and so I picked all that stuff up when I did go to the Warhammer store. But yeah, that is about it for the haul section of the video. It is huge, way too many books. Yeah, let's go into next month's plans, shall we? So during this month, the month of July, because I am recording this a little later than I should have, what are my plans this month? So, finishing the Lesser Devil, which should be in the next few days. Finish that, and then I still think I'm going to let Oathbringer sit for a bit. I might go back to it towards the end of the month, and hopefully finish it during August. We'll just see how I'm feeling on it. Like I said, I am a little bit burnt out on it at the moment. So I'm not just going to push it and then be stuck in a reading slump. I'd rather take a break as much as I need to. However, one thing that I'm dying to read is Horus Heresy. So when I finish Lesser Devil, I am probably going to be getting into Horus Rising. And who knows? Like, these aren't very long books. So there might be a couple other ones that I want to read as well. So I think those are really the only things I have planned. I might try to read Bane or the Drizzt book that I bought. Yeah, I'm kind of just chilling. I'm not being super strict about what I'm reading. Just know that I do want to read something. And then after this, honestly, the thing I kind of want to get to over here, Howling Dark, I packed this with me before I left, so hopefully I might get to this as well. Yeah, those are kind of my plans then, is to get through these during the month of July, and this will probably take me a minute, so this might be into August kind of deal. I might switch off with this to pick back Oathbringer or vice versa, you know, switch between those two. But yeah, that's about it for what I've got going on reading this month. Now, as far as channel updates and like life updates, like I said, I did start back up work. So I've got that going on a few times a week for, you know, a few days a week. Currently working like 3 days a week. So that's pretty cool, making some money again. Like I said, also, I'm at my aunt and uncle's house, so that's where I'm at now. At the end of the month, I am going back home for like a week just to hang out and see my dad. So I've got that going on too. Yeah, I'm just going to try to continue uploading when I can, making some content. I do want to do some reviews still, so there's going to be the Lesser Devil review coming at some point. I want to do that TBR kind of video that I was mentioning. And, you know, if I finish Oathbringer or finish Howling Dark even, then you guys will be seeing that. Also, I kind of wanted to make a Warhammer video as well. So, talking about my experience with Warhammer from a noob's perspective. So, you guys might be seeing that as well. I don't really know what the timeline is like on those, but most likely the next video you'll be seeing is the Lesser Devil review. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and all the links are going to be in the description. So yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Peace.